Get. These folk had apparently forgotten about Egypt and Pharaoh. This is the Jews talking. Time had passed and they've gone on and then what are you talking about? Jesus, what are you talking about? We've never been in bondage. Y'all know we got some folk in our community never realize what our ancestors have gone through. They don't even realize what our ancestors have gone through and died for and fought for to get us to the place that we are. I never, what are you talking about? Slaves. We've never been in bondage. They forgot about Pharaoh. They forgot about going through the Red Sea. They forgot about the wilderness experience. They've been enjoying the goodness of life for so long they've forgotten. That's why you got to always tell your story. It's good that you can show how far God has blessed you. He said, but if you forget where you come from, there's a real good chance. It doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican. It doesn't matter who you know. It doesn't matter how much wealth you've amassed. If we forget where we come from, we see examples all over the world. Folk that think that because they've reached certain heights socioeconomically that they've attained and not realize that folk can bring you down just like that. And there's some folk looking at you don't even want you to be up there and waiting for you to slip up so they can bring you down just like that. What are you talking about? We've never been slaves. Oh, it's a bad thing to become complacent and forget. They forgot about Egypt and they forgot about Pharaoh. Today there are folk that feel we should stop talking about and teaching our story. You know them kind. They done got way up here. We don't need to keep talking about that. We don't need to keep telling that story. I'm somebody now. I don't want to keep being connected and related to that story. Have you lost your mind, brother? Do you realize if it had not been for that story, where you are now could have never happened? What you've accomplished could have never happened? Do you realize that it was illegal for you to even read? That you could be jailed or killed for learning to read, and that we had some folk that didn't care, put their lives on the line. I founder of the AME Church, Richard Allen. It says that when he met Jesus, that when he saw the scriptures, he saw something different than what the masters were trying to teach. He saw something different than what the oppressors were trying to teach. And it says when he read the scriptures, he saw in the scriptures to where he could be free. He saw in the scriptures to where what he and his people were dealing with, that it was nothing godly about it. He saw liberation in the scriptures. And it said that he said his dungeon shook. He says he had been living this life of slavery, but when he saw the scriptures that said that whom the Son sets free is free indeed, when he saw scriptures that described that he was formed in the image of God, his dungeon shook because he realized that God had a plan in store for him, a plan for him to be the head and not the tail, a plan to be above and not beneath. And it says, his story says that he went to his master and he asked his master, I don't deserve to be enslaved. What must I do to get out? He said, what shall I pay you? Master told him $2,000. $2,000 back then, you might have well said $2 million to me today. But guess what he did? He got out there and worked extra hard. When we tell our children that in order to get sometimes we got to work 10 times as hard, 2 times as hard, 5 times as hard. Ain't nothing wrong with it because sometimes you got to go through something to get to something. He says he worked hard. They looked at him and couldn't understand why he was working so hard from job to job, working hard, saved up his money. And when he got to 2,000, says he got his money and went to his master and said, you remember what you promised for me and my brother? Here's your money. I want my freedom. Can I tell you, there's some folk that's enjoying the freedom that folk have fought for, and they don't realize what folk had to do. No, it wasn't equity. They had to work 5 times harder 10 times harder just to be able, when they open their own churches, when we open our own churches, what they would do is burn our churches down. And then the insurance companies wouldn't insure us. And so when they burned us, so what we had to do was go and start our own insurance companies. They thought that we weren't smart enough to go to school with them. And so we had to build our own schools. Churches did this kind of work. Build our own schools, educate ourselves. But now we get so dependent. If they don't want to teach it, if they're scared of telling the story because they don't want their children to know how evil they were, if they're scared to tell, what do we do? What do we do? Build your own. Educate yourselves. But when we forget what our ancestors did to get us to this place, and we think that we got here all on our own. Oh, what a place we find ourselves in. Oh, what a terrible web we weave when we forget where